Welcome back, everybody. We're less than an hour away from Game 2 between the Blazers and Lakers. Lakers took Game 1, but the Blazers played pretty well. What is it going to take for them to get over the hump tonight? We bring in our basketball experts, Nunyo, Demasio from the Seattle Times, Frank Hughes from the Tacoma News Tribune. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us. What's it going to take for Game 2 for the Blazers to get this thing done?
Well, I mean, you know, they have to stop Shaq and or Kobe, and, you know, preferably both. I mean, those guys obviously have taken the Lakers to 2 straight championships, and I mean, I think the key is Shaq. How you stop him, especially this season without Arvydas Sabonis, I don't know, because they don't have a ton of size with Dale Davis, and you're not going to put Rasheed on there and get him in foul trouble. I mean, you're just going to have to play a complete game and hope that one of those guys kind of is off their game tonight.
Nobody stops Shaq, though, Nunyo. You know that as well as anybody.
Yeah, no one stops Shaq. I think Damon Stoudemire is going to have a good game. He struggled in Game 1. And Kobe, I think Bonzi's going to have to put pressure on Kobe, and Rubin's going to have to put pressure on Kobe. They've also struggled offensively, and I think the series is going to go 7 games. The Blazers didn't play a bad game, and so I think it'll go 7 games. Excuse me, 5 games series. 5 games. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But obviously, Pippen can't keep up with Kobe. That was obvious in Game 1. What kind of substitutions, what kind of guys are they going to have to throw at him tonight to mess him up?
Well, if you have the Kobe stopper, don't you throw him on Kobe?
You would think so.
And I mean, to give Rubin credit, he's done a great job this year. I think the last regular season game that they played, he held him to 6 for 15 shooting. Prior to that, he held him below 50% shooting. And I think Rubin actually, believe it or not, does get in Kobe's head a little bit. I thought it was a great line from Kobe after the last game when he called Rubin a garbage player who scores garbage points. And if that's not enough to get Rubin fired up, I don't know what is. But give Rubin credit. He does a pretty good job one-on-one defense on Kobe.
And you guys read the quotes after Game 1, Shaq saying, "We took the Blazers' best shot and we are still standing." What do you think about that? Did the Blazers really give them their best shot, or can we see a new, different, rejuvenated Blazer team in Game 2?
I don't think the Blazers gave their best shot. I think the Blazers are going to be a tough matchup for the Lakers. I think Shaq should have learned from Vlade Divac. You don't add any, incentive to the opposing team, and like I said before, I think it's going to be a tough series.
All right, guys, thank you on that one. Let's move over to the Sonics and Spurs. It's been like a week and a half since the Sonics and Spurs played Game 2. Game 3 coming up on Saturday here in Seattle. An interesting matchup. The Sonics can close this thing out at home now. But home court hasn't always been a blessing for the Sonics this season.
No, but I think actually the Sonics are now become the favorite team with David Robinson out for Game 3, definitely. He didn't even make the trip up to Seattle, and probably out for Game 4. And it doesn't help that if he does come up for Game 4, he's going to have a 5-hour flight to deal with his bad back. I think with David Robinson out, the Sonics actually become the favorite team in that because if you go through their role players, Richard, Desmond, Vladimir Radmanovic, if he's healthy, although his toe is bothering him, now Randy Livingston, some of those guys I think are a lot better than the role players of the Spurs with Malik Rose, Danny Ferry, Steve Smith. There's a lot of age on the Spurs roster.
And your favorite player, Nunyo, Vin Baker, definitely stepping it up here in this postseason.
My favorite player? Where'd you get that from?
Oh, come on now. You love Vin.
No, I just defend him more than most guys. And, hey, Vin is the reason that the Sonics have a really good chance to advance to the second round. He's come to play during the playoffs. He struggled after he dislocated 3 toes. I think people didn't realize that he came back a little bit hurt. He wasn't 100%, and he gives the Sonics a low post presence. For some reason, even though Vin has been criticized for his defense, he plays Tim Duncan really tough. He pushes him from the paint. He gets in a lot of steals against Tim, and I think that Vin is a major reason, if not the biggest reason the Sonics might advance.
Okay, we have
PR man, right?
It sounds like it. We have about 30 seconds left, guys. What is the key for the Sonics? If you have to break it down to one thing that the Sonics have to do to get past the Spurs and get this thing done and over with, what is it?
I think outside shooting. I mean, with Tim Duncan in the middle, these guys have historically through the 4-game series this year beaten the Spurs with their outside shooting. And as long as Richard is healthy, plays like he did in Game 2 where he scored 19 points, and they're home in the key where they feel more comfortable shooting more 3-pointers, I think that's going to be the key.
Yeah, I think outside shooting is one of the keys. The Sonics really haven't shot well from 3-point range. That was a big weapon for them during the regular season, but also exploiting the matchups. Richard really has to take advantage because he's too quick against taller guys, and he can also post up shorter guys. And Gary has to take advantage of Tony Parker. So I do think the Sonics have a lot of matchup advantages, and they have to exploit them.
Oh, that Tony Parker. Somebody just needs to whack him good, don't you think?
Well, and the other thing is, I think the Spurs are going to switch around some of those matchups and maybe put Tony Parker on Brent Barry, Bruce Bowen back on Gary Payton, and so that'll be interesting.
It will be interesting. Gentlemen, thank you. Frank Hughes from the Tacoma News Tribune and Nunyo Demasio from the Seattle Times. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, when we come back, an amazing one-on-one interview with Curtis Williams, the injured former Husky football star, talks about his recovery and what brings him back to town.